recent days, a statement attributed to Melford Dokubo Goodhead Jr., also known as Mujahid Dokubo Asari, a prominent Ijaw leader, has circulated widely, addressing identity, belonging, and history in the Niger Delta. The remarks by the traditional ruler and former president of Ijaw Youth Council (IYC) have sparked intense reactions across communities, especially among young people who believe the language used does not reflect the values of unity, truth, and shared humanity. What you are about to hear next is that statement, followed by a perspective from a courageous young Ijaw woman, speaking not in anger, but in clarity, history, and hope. Enjoy watching.
Ijaw communities are claiming. They say Boni is Igbo, Opopo is Igbo, Okrika is Igbo. You people are sleeping. And these records are sending it all over the world. They call you people Riverine Igbo, Okrika, Boni, and Opopo. And they've recruited some Okrika boys, some Opopo boys, and some Boni boys. Some Wakrike and the Bani people have been recruited. Yes, historically, we cannot say there are no Igbos in our midst. They were bought as slaves and brought to Ijaw land. And they were assimilated. They were assimilated into Ijaw society. It's true. But the original inhabitants of this place were Ijaw people. Because slaves were taken to United Kingdom does not mean that United Kingdom is not owned by people. Because slaves are taken to Rome does not mean that Italy is not owned by people, by the Italians. Igbos were brought as slaves. They sold their brothers to us. Some of us have this blood of the people they wickedly sold to our father. It's well known. Igbos are intelligent. Intelligence where? Anything about money, that's where they go to. This clown who is calling himself Eso Buruburu, Imperial Majesty. You don't know what so Okrika people don't know what imperial means. Boni people don't know what imperial means. Opopo people don't know what imperial means. At least they did not claim caravan. They did not claim caravan. But there is no, apart from Sabama, where there are some native Igbo, there are no Igbo communities. When you say imperial, that means our territory is a conquered territory. Our territory is a conquered. Look at these towers. We know, we Ijaw people know that Ikore people are Igbo, Eche are Igbo, Indoni is Igbo, Indoki is Igbo, Ekpe is Igbo, Opa is Igbo. We know, that's what we call them. So if you and them, they say they are not Igbo, it's you and them business. It's Igbo we call them. Ayana Bigi. Now it's so Bigi now. That's what you call them. So it's between you and them. Whatever they say, Bini or this or that's you and them. But don't come and claim it, Boni and Opo. Don't come and claim Opo.
Listen to her.
As a Kalabari person, you are somehow affiliated to Igbo. Now, when you speak Kalabari, a lot of persons would say that, like Ngaji is Igbo, Ada is Igbo, or this is Ajija is Igbo. They pick a lot of Igbo words when I speak Kalabari. But what they do not know is that most of us Our grandparents, our great-grandparents are actually of the Igbo descent. Now, let's take out these facts. You know, Kalabari men, they like to marry Igbo women. And everybody knows that it is the woman that keeps a home. Do you get? Now, if I marry an Ikwere man, or if I marry an Andoni man, or any tribe that is not my tribe, you don't expect me to speak Ikwere for my children. Myself and my husband can be speaking English, but because I keep the home, I'm the one that is in charge of primarily the 60% upbringing of the children. That's to cater for them, like as the mother. I know you know what I'm saying. If I decide I want to speak my language, now my language my children can understand. Maybe if at some point I decide, oh, I love my husband so much, I want to learn Ikore, and I decide to learn Ikore, I can be speaking Ikore for them. But because I'm the mother and I'm the one always at home with them, I was speaking Kalabari with them. Now, most of the Igbo women that were married by Kalabari men, they try to come and they try to mingle and they try to become like the Kalabari women. They try to learn the language. So in that process of learning the language, they try to diffuse one or two Igbo. And that's why you see that we say opera, we say Ada, we say Ingaji, we say Aroson, we say Azizabi Ojija. Because most of us, we have great-grandparents who are of the Igbo descent.
Now, this video, as short as it is, has left a lot of people arguing in the comments. Kalabari are Igbos. No, they are not Igbos. Yes, they are from the southeast. No, they are not from the southeast. We were all Eastern region together. No, we were not all Eastern region together. Yes, we were Eastern region together, but it doesn't mean we are all Igbos. This has definitely left a lot of people arguing. What is the real origin of the Kalabari people of Rivers State, Nigeria? Everyone is obviously claiming something, but behind all the noise lies a deeper story, one that stretches beyond social media debates. Because the connection between the Kalabari and the Igbos isn't about identity theft or social media or tribal wars. It's about history, love, migration, and rivers that carried more than just goods. They carried culture. They carried with them an identity of a people. So, let's travel back to the creeks, the trade routes, and the crossroads where two proud nations met and changed each other forever. Before Nigeria had borders, before anyone drew lines on the map, there were rivers flowing endlessly through the green heart of the Niger Delta. The Kalabari lived by those waters. Their homes stood on the stilts, their lives guided by tides. They fished, they traded, and sang songs that echoed across the creeks. Just a few miles inland lived the Igbo, farmers, traders, blacksmiths, people of the Red Earth, and the open market, who also practice what they call the Iri spirituality. Two civilizations divided by geography, united by the water. That is why the Igbos who lived by the water are called Igbo Binolu. That's how it all began. The rivers became highways of opportunity. Centuries ago, Kalabari traders turned their canoes into floating empires, navigating from the coast to the interior, trading with both the Europeans and the inland Igbo towns. They controlled the gateways where the Atlantic met the Niger, palm oil, ivory, and sometimes human captives followed down the Igbo hinterland to the Kalabari parts of Buguma, Abonema, and Degema, even as far as Bokana, which is also in the same enclave. In return for this, the Kalabari sent back salt, cloth, and guns connecting worlds that might never have met otherwise. Trade brought profit, no doubt, but it also brought language and friendship, and sometimes even misunderstanding between the two nations. This is where that young woman's observation becomes so fascinating. When she says some Kalabari words sound Igbo, and are Igbo. She's not wrong. Words like ahia, meaning market, words like ego, meaning money, words like nna, meaning father, all trace their roots to the Igbo language. Words like okpara, words like ada, words like aziza, words like Ugaji that she mentioned, all trace their roots back to the Igbo language. But that doesn't make the Kalabari people Igbo, are they? According to researchers, it simply means that for centuries, the two groups talked, traded, married, and lived close enough for their language to rub off on each other. In linguistics, it is called borrowing. Humans call it connection. Just like English borrowed the words ballet from French, algebra from Arabic, banana from African languages, gari, asoke, and the rest from African languages, Kalabari borrowed some words from the Igbo language because their lives intertwined. Language is a living memory. It carries traces of every handshake, every trade, and even every marriage. The Kalabari were more than just fishermen. They were kings on water. Their kingdoms, Elem Kalabari, rose as one of the most powerful city-states in the Niger Delta region of today. Under rulers like King Amakri I, Kalabari expanded their influence, dealing with the British, the Dutch, and inland Igbo traders alike. They created for themselves a political structure rooted in Ijaw tradition, with chiefs, warriors, and councils that managed trade and justice. So, while they might share words with the Igbo, their social and spiritual foundations remain unmistakably Ijaw, not Igbo. But here is where it gets beautifully complicated. Very, very complicated. Trade brought people together, but love kept them together. Kalabari men were often married to Igbo women who they met through commerce, because these men found these women very enterprising and married them. But you will not also doubt that Igbo men married Kalabari women as well. You will ask, why did those Kalabari women married to Igbo not change the language of the Igbo people? That's a question for historians to also answer. Some Igbo traders chose to settle by the creeks. Definitely they did. And some settled permanently, building homes and raising families alongside. Their children grew up speaking both languages, calling one parent Nna and the other Dabo. Generations later, that bloodline still echoes in the speech of everyone who is Kalabari. So when a Kalabari girl says, we use some Igbo words, she is not wrong. She is reciting her family's shared history. That is a young girl who understands the history of her own people. As we all know, trade is not always harmony. Of course, history wasn't always harmony as well. The Niger Delta became a battlefield for control over trade routes. Boni, Okrika, and Kalabari clashed in a series of wars that reshaped the region. Villages sometimes were burned down, alliances shifted, and rivers and the control of rivers sometimes changed hands. Yet, through that chaos, the Igbo connection remained. That is the Igbo spirit. They kept trading, kept intermarrying, kept crossing the same rivers that once divided them. And then came the British with treaties, guns, and flags. By 1885, the entire region had been swallowed up into the Oil Rivers Protectorate. To the colonial administrators, for ease of convenience, everyone here, Kalabari, Okrika, Igbo, Boni, was simply part of the Niger Delta trade. But in truth, each group had its own unique identity, language, and spiritual foundations. The Kalabari remained Ijaw at heart, their deities, their songs, and customs untouched by external classifications. The Igbo, on their part, became one of the most influential groups in modern-day Nigeria. In fact, one of the most popular groups and one of the Fast forward to today, the debate still lives and rages on. Again, this time on social media, people asking, where are these people from? Someone posts a video on social media speaking her language and someone comments, that's proof that Kalabari people are Igbos. Another one replies, no, they are not Igbos, they are Ijaw. Another one replies, but we are all part of the eastern region together. This is all the confusion that continues to rage in this modern era of social media. But we have to go behind social media to look up history books and cultural relations between the Ijaws in Kalabari and those of our brothers and sisters in Igbo land. The truth isn't something to fight over at all. It is something to understand. Truth has to be understood, not fought for. Cultures don't exist in isolation. They mix, they borrow, they influence, and they also evolve. The Igbo language has mixed so much because of its very powerful influence with the Kalabari language and influenced it a whole lot, such that you will see a Kalabari person and then begin to assume that they are Igbos. Now, this is not to confuse you. That's not confusion at all. This is humanity at its peak, because humans will continue to interact. So as we started with, I ask again, are the Kalabari people Igbos? I will leave you to answer while I give my own answer. My own answer is no. The Kalabari people are not Igbos. They are proud Ijaw people with their own language, ancestry, and heritage. But did they share space at any time in history? Did they share stories and words with the Igbo for hundreds of years? Absolutely yes, they did. We have interacted, intermarried, and now we have a shared history. And that's what makes Niger Delta people so special. It's a place where no culture exists untouched, isolated. Where water carries memory, and every tide whispers a piece into someone's songs and someone's ears. So the next time you come across a viral video of a Kalabari person speaking what sounds like Igbo, the Kalabari girl is saying Igbo words, don't argue with them, because what we are hearing is a proof of connection, of centuries of trade, of friendship, and shared humanity. Because the human history, the human story is a shared one. No culture, no language exists in isolation. I am Onwode Ngozi Fortune once again, and this is Enu and a Cultural Forum. We have been looking at the forgotten connection between the Kalabari and the Igbo people. If you learned something new from this video, give this video a like, a share, and tell me in the comment section which other cultural stories you would love me to explore the next time. Until next time, remember, history isn't always about who we are different from. It's about who we became because we met someone.